Howdy, 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 and welcome everyone. I'm gonna do a little pre-stream maintenance real quick. Get everything set up. Let's see here. Make sure my volume's good. My headset's not even attached to the right computer right now. That probably doesn't help. So usually when I'm streaming, I attach my headset to the laptop next to me. So that I can listen and do sound checks and stuff like that. And the volume sounds really low today. Let me see. Is this try a few things here. Hold on. Sometimes I have this thing where, like, no matter what the volume is, it just isn't loud enough. Or, sorry, it doesn't change on my headset. I'm trying to make sure that's not what's going on. I don't want to blow you guys out. Alright, so is this any better? No, I'm not hearing any difference, so it might be that. Hold on, let me try something else. We're gonna turn this off and turn this back on and hope that nobody's eardrums are being blown out. Anyhow, so yeah, I don't know. It still seems kind of quiet, but I think we'll. How about with the gain up? All right, that sounds a little bit better. I'll go with this for now. If people have a hard time hearing me, let me know. Alrighty, so way behind on advent of code. Sorry, I gotta stop listening to myself. It makes it hard to talk. You know what I want to do real quick? Sorry. How is my volume compared to volume on the internet? I'm just gonna check like a YouTube video, like compare my levels. Yeah, no, it's like way louder than me. Yeah, so it's my sub. See, it's so frustrating, and I don't know what's happening. My thesis right now is that it's some sort of like noise reduction thing, like background noise reduction thing, and it's like causing my volume to be reduced. Sorry. Let me just double check this. Correct mic. Correct suppression. Yeah, every time I like jump into OBS for some reason, it's louder or it's quieter, and I I don't understand. It's the worst. All right, there we go. But you know what I'm gonna do? Let's see here. I'll turn this back on for a second. Let's turn the gain up. All right, we're getting there. Getting there. All right, that sounds like about the level that I heard from the YouTube video that I was just looking at. So I'm gonna call this good. So in about 20 minutes, we've got the weekly blockchain rehash LinkedIn event. I don't know who else is going to be there. I think it's going to be a relatively small crowd. So if y'all want to join and throw in your own thoughts on the subjects, let me know. Well, don't just let me know. Sorry. Now I'm staring off into space at like, oh, let me make sure that I've got this already because it's in 20 minutes. There we go. Last week, blockchain rehash. So yeah, in T-minus 20 minutes, we will jump into this. But in the meantime, I want to work on day 3. Let's copy day 2 and make a day 3. This to be recursive. Okay, so cd day 3. Nope, 3, and jump in the editor here. Wow, I'm getting worse and worse as I keep going. I don't know if I need more coffee or what. All right, so we'll keep our input and basically nuke everything else. Oh, I did want to say, I kept saying, I kept saying how I didn't like this whole matrix thing, like having to go through each one of these because it's just not scalable. And I did come up with at some point a much better way of doing it. It's still not perfect by any means, but I like it a lot better. So kind of proud of this one. So like if you add up, I created like this choice score matrix. No, this choice int. So rock was worth 1, paper's worth 2, and scissors is worth 4. And so if I add those up in any given round, there is no overlap in the outcome unless you include draws. So I just took care of draws right at the beginning. So adding up, which would that be? Like rock and paper together equals 3. 1 and 2 is 3. So no matter which way you do it, whether it's the elf playing rock or me playing rock and the elf playing paper or me playing scissors, it always ends up being 3. So I was able to reduce a whole lot of those cases just by saying, all right, so I know that the 2 players played this combination of rock and paper. So in this case, if my choice was the paper, I know I'm the winner. Otherwise, I know I'm the loser. Anyways, I still know that like, just another better way of doing this, and I kind of want to go and look at the solutions in like Theo's chat or like the advent of code. But I'm happier with this, I guess. I'm getting down to. Had a very similar thing with the calculate. My choice was able to reduce that. Yeah. Anyhow. All right. So now we're on day 3 though. So let's start on part 1. And again, we don't need anything except for the input. Go to the website, advent of, I'm not even gonna, well, maybe I'll tweet real quick. Live streaming advent of day 3 because I'm so far behind. Hashtag advent of code, hashtag AOC. Yeah. Oh, should probably put my URL in there. Sorry, I'm doing this off screen. I know. It's www. No, just twitch.tv/ not BC TV. Curiously gory. All right. Day 3. Let's look. So, we just completed our 2,500 rounds of rock, paper, and scissors. What do they have for us now? One elf has the important job of loading all of the rucksacks with supplies for the jungle journey, because we're going on search of, you know, reindeer fuel. Unfortunately, that elf did not quite follow the packing instructions, and so a few items now need to be rearranged. Each rucksack has two large compartments. All items of a given type are meant to go into exactly one of the two compartments. The elf that did the packing failed to follow this rule for exactly one item type per rucksack. The elves have made a list of all the items currently in each rucksack, your puzzle input, but they need your help finding the errors. Every item type is identified by a single lowercase or uppercase letter. That is, an A and an A. Yeah, lowercase a and uppercase A refer to different types of items. The list of items for each rucksack is given as characters all on a single line. All right. So this is one rucksack. It's like, I don't see any lowercase j's here. No, I don't see any. All right. A given rucksack always has the same number of items in each of its two compartments. So the first half of the characters represent items in the first compartment, while the second half of the characters represent items in the second compartment. Okay, so the first thing we're going to have to do is split up the rucksack into its, split the input into rucksacks and then into items, like the two compartments. All right, so for example, suppose you have the following list of contents from 6 rucksacks. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The first rucksack contains the items, which means its first compartment contains the items, while the second compartment contains the items, the only item type that appears in both compartments is lowercase p. The second rucksack's compartments contain and this. The only item type that appears in both compartments is the uppercase L. 1, 2, 3. Ooh. Oh, right. But let's see here. So in this one, it's lowercase p. So this one has 1 p over here and 1 over here. Oh, I was hoping I could see like there's 2 on one side and 1 on the other. Anyways, the third rucksack's compartment contains this and this. The only common item type is the uppercase p. Boom, boom. And this one does have 2 over here. This one's got 1 over here. So we can assume, right, because they only put 1 in the wrong slot, that the P is the correct one here. Anyways, to help prioritize item rearrangement, every item type can be converted to a priority. Lowercase item types A through Z have priorities 1 through 26. Uppercase item types A through Z have priorities 27 through 52. In the above example, the priority of the item type that appears in both compartments of each rucksack is 16 for the lowercase p, 38 for the uppercase L, 42 uppercase p, 22 lowercase v, 20 lowercase t, and 19 lowercase s. The sum of these is 157. Find the item type that appears in both compartments of each rucksack. What is the sum of the priorities of those item types? Okay, so we break down. I might be able to do this in the next 12 minutes. Probably not. Oh, I have people actually watching, which means I can't just stop and eat my delicious noodles. I will mute and eat them off camera, though. All right. So this is relative. Oh, yeah, let's get our input. Get the raw data. Okay. And that in. Oh, let's do, right. Starting here and going up to har. There's our input. Say, that would be an additional row. There we go. Okay. Where's the I was just gonna grab like the format from yesterday. So I'm just gonna call it format input, and it's gonna take in, let's see here, rucksack inventory. It's gonna take rucksack inventory, which is a very long string, and it's gonna return an array of rucksack contents. And we'll start with this real quick. So our type of rucksack contents is going to be I guess, do I want to do the compartments and just return to like an array of 2 compartments or a tuple of 2 compartments? Probably. Compartment. And a compartment is, how do we want to break this down? The items, I mean, I need to know like the values, right? So it is an array of items. It's an array of item, or what do they call them? Yeah, items. Okay. And item is character and value. Yeah, I like this. Okay. 8 minutes to go. So rucksack inventory, we're splitting it into inventory, I guess rucksack. Let's just call this a rucksack. It's made up of 2 compartments. The 2 hardest things about being a developer: naming variables and cache invalidation. All right, so we're gonna split that into rucksacks, which is a we'll call that a rucksack string actually, because this is a string. And that we're gonna split rucksack content array is the string split by nothing. Like if the separator is empty, it just splits each one, right? Maybe. All right. And then that would be easy enough to return. This is a tuple, right? And that's just going to be rucksack content array slice 0 through 5. Wait, how many were there? Does each item have the same number? Oh, it looks like some have more and some have less. So I actually need to do like rucksack content array length divided by 2. Which is probably going to complain. I don't know. It's possibly going to complain because that could potentially be like a float value. I guess I could say, what would this be? Not number, int, parse int. just to make sure that's not a float value, because it shouldn't be, right? If this is working right. Anyways, and then the second one, let's do, 5-minute warning. Demystifying crypto. That was my vote for the title, by the way. And then we're gonna do the same thing, except for it's gonna start here +1, and then it's gonna go to the end. I know I could do like a negative slice on that, right? Okay, so now it's a complaining back, because I feel like this should be right. So we got the inventory, return, string is not, oh. I haven't had to do this in forever, or maybe ever, jobs. Script, split string into array of individual characters. Oh, you can just reference it directly? Right. But I want it to be an array. Oh, right. In the rucksack, the items aren't right anyways, right? We still have more formatting to do. Yeah, so that actually should work, right? Okay. So this is doing what I thought it was doing. The thing is, I am not converting the item. I need to convert the items to value and character. And I'm not gonna have time to do this. Okay, so here's the deal. I'm gonna go off camera for 4 minutes to finish my delicious noodles because they're getting soggy. And I'm gonna come back. We're gonna do the weekly blockchain, last week blockchain rehash. And after that, I will plan on finishing this before abandoning everyone. So, all right, I'll be right back.
Hey there, it's just me and you today. Hello, hello. Hold on, I'm just sending one message here. All right. Oh, so much going on before Christmas. How are you? How you doing?
I'm doing all right. Just yeah. Sorry, muted because I'm slurping my food.
No worries. All right. Well, let's go live. Let's see if
Yeah,
everybody joins, and we'll just chit chat.
sounds good.
Boom. Alrighty. So while we wait to see if anybody will join us, so yeah, so all going well. As you slurp your drink, you can unmute
My
after.
my gosh. Yeah, it's been a week and it's not even holiday related yet. Well,
I know.
it's been a more than a week, but yeah, I have a RV and I'm trying to get it ready to sell because of a lot of reasons. Gas prices are actually good right now, so it's a really
Ah,
important time, or it's a really good time compared
yeah,
to other
sure.
times. I wish I'd have done it 6 months ago, because even though gas prices were ridiculous, the people weren't quite so conservative with buying non-essentials. But yeah, I kind of have this feeling like I love having an RV, but the next one that I have will most likely be electric, and I don't want to be stuck with a gas one while this whole change is happening.
So where have you gone in your RV?
Mostly up around like the northern mountains in Arizona. Yeah, we have a membership at it's kind of like a KOA sort of deal, but it's not. So we take it over there semi-frequently. Luckily, got our storage is parked just down, I don't know, 5 miles down the road, the highway. So we drive up my little Honda Civic. It gets 40 plus miles a gallon, and then we hop in the giant rig for the last 5 miles.
Yeah.
We had big dreams. We wanted to like take it to California and Colorado and all these other things, but just has not been the year for that. So,
No, no, it hasn't.
how, now, how
I would
about
love to.
yourself? Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, yeah. No, no, that's our RV dreams. I don't have one. I've never really traveled in one, but I do fantasize about that. I would really like to do like a cross Canada trip, with an RV. I don't know if I would actually enjoy it. So obviously you have to try to find, we're gonna have to at some point try to do maybe rent one and
Yeah, I
then
was gonna
go on a
say
trip.
just rent one and go for
But it hasn't happened yet. So it's and now, like you said, now is not the time to do it. I gotta wait for the craziness in the world to go away first. So
yeah.
hopefully in a couple of years that will actually happen.
Right. Yeah, because I've got the benefit of like the used, well, just vehicle prices in general are still much higher than they would have been, without the
Yeah.
supply chain issues. But at the same, and gas prices are decent. But then, yeah, we've got this whole looming economic crisis, and um, So people, which is interesting because, like, you know, I've been through enough of these now, which is really, really unfortunate that I can say. Like, how many recessions and mini depressions have I lived through now? And I'm not even that
Are you closer?
old.
Are you closer to my age? No, you're younger. Well, I mean, you don't know how old I am, but I'm pretty old.
And I don't know.
Uh,
No, I'm gonna be the big 40 this year.
okay,
Here in like a
I
month.
got 10 years on you.
Yeah. So I didn't. I technically lived through the recession in the 80s, but I don't really remember it. But yeah, you know, going through all these ups and downs through 2008 on were definitely very personal, and um, it is
Yeah, I
interesting to
grew up.
see that
Yeah.
just how people are reacting this time ahead of potential crisis versus the last couple of times where we actually had people paying down debt and not buying big things, whereas like in 2008 people were like going into foreclosure and still putting like 10 grand on the visa to go to Disneyland, you know. So
Yeah, it's funny how, people have sometimes weird priorities and stuff. Yeah, I find that very interesting. Uh, but like I even laugh. No, laugh is not this. It's not the right word, but I find it very interesting. Like for example, when you know, I grew up in Argentina, in the 70s, right? So, and that was during if they were under dictatorship at the time. I lived through the hyperinflation years where literally you would get your paycheck, and in the time that it would take you to walk to the store, it would devalue by like 5%, right? So that was like the kind of, and
wow, yeah,
I was a child, right? So like I didn't appreciate it at the time, what, the impact that that was having. But now, when I look back on it, and I recall conversations and behaviors and the way, people were, and what my parents were doing at the time, right? It's like, yeah, those were pretty crazy economic times. Um, so I have and because we were poor, right? Um, I have a very weird relationship with money, right? So, you know, coming back to Canada, and I've worked my way. I put myself through school, and I got a good job. I got a good career, and but the way that I did it, right, is like like when I was in university and saving up, like I didn't go anywhere, right? Like I would, you
yeah,
know
yeah.
I saved every penny. I would only go, to the bar at the university, bar, and drank like the really cheap wine or beer. Well, actually, I don't beer. It
Oh
was wine,
yeah,
but like I didn't spend anything. I didn't buy clothes. I didn't go to the movies. Like I was very very frugal, and that's how I saved up, and I got to where I am. But now, like I see, kids that are struggling, and I say this in quotations, that it's like, well, they can't, they complain they can't afford rent, they can't afford food, but they're walking around with, Kate Spade purses, right? Like they
sure.
have a $400 purse. And I'm like,
Yeah.
what the hell? I wouldn't even have a knockoff, Kate Spade purse when I was that age, right? Never mind like a real one. So it's yeah, so it's a struggle, right? Like
Yeah.
so I find that really interesting on how people's perceptions, and what I guess is what they've been through, right? So yeah, it's interesting times for sure. So to me, like these, having lived through it, the way that I grew up, and most of the people that I know in Argentina, right, it's like this is normal.
Yeah.
But North America people haven't been through something like this, so it's different behavior.
Right, right. And something about North American culture makes it so that for some reason we think that we're different. Like, no, we don't need to learn any lessons that other people have learned the hard way from them without doing it the hard way. We're different. We're gonna, we're,
But
yeah,
I think everybody's like that, though. I'm not sure that's necessarily an American thing. I think unless you've lived through it, um, it's hard to it's hard to really understand or know how you behave, right? It's the same thing, right? It's like if somebody's having a heart attack in front of you, like what do you do, right? Like what would you do, right?
Yeah.
Or they say, okay, you're in a burning plane, you know, what do you do? And it's amazing about what most people, you know, actually do. Like I
Right.
remember I was in the at the gym once, you know, and I like to think I'm a pretty, you know, I take action, right? Like I'm a go-getter. I'm not shy or whatever. And there was a guy at the gym. I was on the treadmill, and a guy was on a bike just behind me, and he collapsed. Like he was having a heart attack, right? And you know
Wow.
what I did? I just stood there, right? Other people jumped, and I literally just stood there and watched. I'm like, wow, like, you know, I can't believe I didn't like call out for help or like I literally just it was weird, right? And it's
Yeah.
like I
Yeah.
never would have thought I would have reacted that way. So, you know, you never know. You have to
No,
be in those.
yeah, you do, and you don't like. There's yeah, there's a lot of things you can do in those sort of situations, from like visualization practices to I think a lot of it comes down to um, I mean, training and stuff. I've been in that situation too, and I think I've been on both sides of that, where there's things that I prepared for. I was lucky both from having a Boy Scout background as well as my school actually did really good with like CPR classes and stuff. So I had a lot of emergency preparedness training, and I was witness to somebody getting hit by a car, and luckily it was a relatively low speed. They were coming around a corner, and so they had slowed down quite a bit. But yeah, a truck hit a woman, and knew I knew what to do, and I did it, and I didn't have to think about it. I think if I had to think about it, there wouldn't have been
Yeah,
any action.
right.
But yeah, you know, I all of the preparedness training actually paid off, and it kicked in. And but then on the other side, I've been like witness to fights and other events where I did exactly the same thing. I just stood there like I have no idea what to do, and I'm not in a position, like my brain's going into fight or flight, not plan. And so since I don't have something already queued up in the playbook, I just stood there.
But that's probably a good thing, right? In a fight, you don't really that
It depends
you
on
know,
who it's between, right? Like, eh,
that's true. That's true. That's true. That's true. If you were supposed to jump in and help somebody, yeah, yeah, that's true.
yeah, well, yeah,
Yeah,
and I think largely, like, yeah, it's like somebody being
yeah,
um,
attacked.
attacked, or is this just like, because yeah, if it's a bar fight, like, you know, generally
Yeah, it's
speaking, just
scary.
unless somebody's like, you know, got a knife and they're gonna shank somebody, like, you know, from behind or something, like, yeah, you're probably best just to stay out of it, especially here where I live, because it doesn't matter who started it or who was involved. If you are in any way involved, you're going to jail. um, which is
Yeah,
unfortunate and ridiculous, but I guess, you know, it saved a whole lot of he said, she said.
yeah, exactly. Okay.
But
Yeah, no, it's yeah, so it's interesting, right? So you never know. I mean, we'll see what happens. Economy is it's hard to predict what that will bring in 2023.
I do think
But
that, you know, people reacting the way that they are is very good and a very healthy thing. If we do go through some sort of, you know, what seems to be looming economic event, then we're not going to have quite the level of impact that we had in like 2008, because 2008 was, you know, the entirely accelerated by people having like record amounts of debt. And so not only did they were they overextended on their houses, but then when things came crashing down, they didn't have anything to fall back on either. So I'm hoping that means that whatever happens is at least slightly muted compared to what it would be. But
mhm.
yeah, it's hard to say.
Yeah, very hard to say. Yeah, yeah. But on predictions, since we're on the
Right.
predictions, so
This is a
what
good
do you think is
segue.
going to happen? Like, excellent segue, excellent segue. So what do you think is going to happen next year with Web3?
You know, being in the developer space, and particularly having an opportunity to talk to a lot of clients as like a freelance small business owner, um, I'm seeing a lot of the same thing over and over and over again. There's not a lot of like this new ideas emerging. So, what this last year, which seems like the last couple of years, we had, things like the DAO emergence and really NFTs becoming super popular. And I think that as we see things stagnate, that we're going to see a new round of innovation. Now, what that means, and this my prediction goes also back to like the 2017 boom, where it was all like the ICOs and the new layer ones and things like that. So, I think that there's going to be some projects that have launched over the last couple of years that will really begin to mature and break out of wherever they're currently at. And I think that there's going to be some really cool innovation as people get bored with just everything that's been happening. I'm trying to kind of like dial in on like what does that really mean. I know some of our conversations over the last few weeks have been kind of inspiring there, like what are the problems that we have and how are people going about solving them. Hopefully there's a big push for UX and like making a good blockchain experience. I wish
Yeah.
that our other co-hosts were here because I know that they are in that space,
Yeah.
Chris and Emily. But yeah, that's kind of that would be my hope, is that we see some real maturation in the UX space, and I think that the push for that is going to be, because people are looking for adoption, or they want to bring in more mainstream adopters, and so especially like business and whatnot, because I think that it's interesting. I was approached by a team the other day, and they're doing an L1 and looking at the people who are on the governing board of this layer one. They're all businesses, and they're all big businesses. And so it's interesting to me that they're all focused on this new layer one instead of going into something that already exists, Ethereum, or even, like a layer two, like Avalanche or Polygon or something. Because it tells me that the things that they're looking for don't exist in like there's something missing for them, right? And so I think that's going to
Yeah.
be really interesting to follow as well. So how about yourself? Where are you? What are you thinking? What are you looking at?
Uh, I'm I'm thinking, well, I think there's going to be a little bit of a reckoning, right? I mean, it's already started, right? But with all this stuff that's happening with the exchanges and stuff, um, right? Obviously, there's going to be, I think, for the first half of the year, I think we're going to see a lot moves into regulation, right? Which I think is good. I think overall it will help us, but I think it'll make things a little bit more tricky to navigate, right? At least initially. So so
Yeah.
I think so I think it'll stifle a little bit some of the innovation initially as people try to, because I think people are going to be in the wait and see as to what these regulations are going to look like before you get too far down the road. Um, but so that's part of what I think will happen. Um, I'm I don't know anything about this, but I'm getting a sense that Binance is not as healthy as they say they are.
Hmm.
So I'm expecting some turmoil around them. I'm not sure that I expect them to go under in the same way that FTX did, but I think there's definitely going to be some more drama coming out of there. I think I saw like a quick update on Twitter or something that um, that they people are taking money out of Binance anyway. Like, again, because I think people are just afraid.
Yeah.
Uh, well, there's an outflux of cash, so that will definitely impact them anyway, as people are trying to protect themselves. Um, so so that's what I think, the ecosystem overall, that's going to drive then some different types of solutions in Web3. I'm hoping that we'll start to see some more real life and real useful applications. Like you said, right? Like we definitely, with better UXs and better tools. We've been talking a lot about the need for better tools.
Mm-hmm.
I'm really hoping that we'll start to see, more real life, more, more, I don't want to say useful, but, more business oriented, more, stuff that drives real economies, real, not just in the deep, most of the stuff has been DeFi gaming. I want to see other verticals start um, gaining some traction, and seeing, some solutions which I think will be driven again mostly through NFTs. So that's, and we're kind of seeing some of that, like we've been pinged by a few, people are looking for more. It's mostly loyal, like business loyalty stuff. So I mean, we talked about, the Starbucks, right? How they have their tokenized loyalty stuff. So we've had a few people ping us, to look at those type of solutions, either loyalty solutions,
Yeah.
uh, or even how the stock markets now work. Um, a lot of commodities are purchased through futures, right? Like even like for example, coffee, for example, right? Coffee and sugar, I believe, and some other staple commodities are purchased through futures. So you kind of you bet on, you say, well, I'm gonna buy X amount of this crop, right?
Right.
And you're taking chances, right, whether it actually yields or not.
Right, which acts as a insurance policy somewhat for the, sellers and ultimately the
Right, right.
farmers, right? Because if you're off, then they still get paid and you just lose, some on there. But so yeah, um, you're buying now for what you think you can make a profit on when the crop's actually ready to sell, right? Basically.
Yeah,
Can I
yeah. Well,
ask,
and
sorry,
then
and I,
people buy. Sorry, go ahead.
just going back to something that you had said about the loyalty programs and stuff, since you've had some of these conversations, maybe you have some insight here, and it's something I've been wondering about. What are they seeing? What do you think people like Starbucks are seeing in the value of a tokenized loyalty program? Is it the hype that they're banking on bringing in more interest, or is there some actual benefit for them to do it in this way over just building it in a traditional Web2 infrastructure?
I think I think it's a little bit of both. So part of it is hype, right? I mean, the particular brand that is coming to us for the loyalty stuff is they're just they're looking into the future, right? So they're like, this is the way it's going to be. So they're trying to get ahead of the game. So that's
Okay.
part of it,
Uh-huh.
and also because it's the new cool thing, and it just allows them to do more, I think, than with the current Web 2. I mean, like look at all the thing that happened with Ticketmaster, right?
Oh
And
my
the
gosh, yeah.
Taylor Swift, right? So I think a lot of companies are seeing that, right? Where okay, so that was like the perfect Web 2 example
Right.
as to how Web 2 doesn't it can be manipulated, right? Because I saw like a breakdown where it really was dependent on the traffic, right? So people who had like a code from Ticketmaster, their system was so much slower and they had to go through so many more access points to get to the tickets that essentially they got shut out because they didn't have, like their system couldn't handle it, where some other um, fans who had tickets to some of the smaller I guess Ticketmaster could. I guess there were a couple of other providers that you could get tickets that were very small, and they had no issues because their systems, they didn't have as many users and they could totally handle it, right? So it's a way that you can, that you can try to circumvent some of these centralized issues with with Web2.
I've been thinking about ticketing for a long time. It's something that I know that there's some companies out there working on it, and I think something like the Ticketmaster event might make people think a little bit more about it because it would have had its own set of troubles, but at the end of the day, I don't know. I mean, one, if that was on Ethereum, let's say, or even something like Polygon, which would be much more realistic for a Ticketmaster sort of system. Um, I mean, imagine the gas wars for that and what it would do to the network
Right,
temporarily during that.
right.
Because, like, yeah, like people would be able to get through and it would be technically first in, first out, but it wouldn't be fair because people still would be able to go in and pay, like, 100 times normal gas because they know they're going to go and relist this ticket on whatever platform for 10 times what it should cost anyways. And from the
But when
what
I mean, it was like what happened with the Yuga Labs thing, right? Like, I mean, I mean, they did that purposely, but it essentially was a gas war, right? For people to get their whitelist, execute on their whitelist spot, right?
Yeah, and I think in crypto, like we're used to that to some extent, and it is the way the network is structured. Like, it works. That's why it works. And I think that from an infrastructure side, as a company like Ticketmaster, looking at blockchain for that reason could be highly appealing, especially if they figure out a good way to handle like converting. Like, yeah, there's just some other things
Okay,
like,
but hey, here's my question.
yeah.
So why did everything have to go out at the same time? So if you're
Yeah,
a
no, and
fan,
that's what I'm saying. That's what I was
right?
wanting to get back to is that like
Yeah,
realistically the thing from this whole debacle is a there was zero reason that they needed to do every show all at once. They
yeah,
could have done it by venue, by date, right? And so, like, every day, and think about like the way that the hype could work on that would be really cool too. Like, it's like the day one people see, the day two people see what happened on day one, and they, get excited and they get their tickets, and the day two people, and like, so every new venue that comes up day after day just continues this hype train. And yeah, towards
yeah,
the end, of course, it peters out. But so there's that. But then there's also like they knew exactly how many invites they sent out. There is zero reason that they could not uh, like plan for and accommodate that level of traffic. Like none. There's no reason whatsoever. Like they knew exactly how many users were potentially there, and they could even plan statistically based on their past events of like what they think out of those invites they sent out, how many people might show up, especially at the very beginning. And yeah, it was just an absolute planning disaster, I think, more than anything else. And there's probably some architectural, like it was just done very inefficiently, this, that, and the other thing. But like just from those two first planning points, they could have avoided the whole mess.
yeah. But even like, okay, so if I'm a fan and I'm supposed to be able to get a ticket because I bought this ticket from before and whatever, right? That's my reward. Like, why can't they just do, okay, hey, Tanya, here's your promo code. It's valid for the next, you know, 48 hours, right? You have 48 hours to confirm your purchase. Like, why can't it be like a
Yeah,
reserved ticket for an
sure.
X amount of
Yeah.
time, right?
Yeah, they
Like,
could have done
it
that
doesn't
too.
even and that's what I don't get. Like, what? And I know that there is some, there is a hype factor, but I also believe is that their systems aren't built to handle that, right? And I think that's a problem, right? Ticketmaster just has one way of doing things, which is, boom, you carpet bomb all the tickets. Whoever gets them, and if you don't get them, you're done, right? And I know, we probably know that from having to code something like that, where you have a promo code for a specific amount of time, and you have to kind of keep track of tickets and who got what or whatever. It's more coding on their part, but that's the way that it should have been done. Like there was no need to have this mess whatsoever. I
Absolutely.
don't know.
There's yeah, like between the like the three different things that we just talked about, plus probably 100,000 more other different ways that they could have handled this better. They could have and should have handled this better. I mean, I hope that it causes significant repercussions for them because like I'm hoping
Yeah,
that
me too.
people look at this and say, "Oh, okay, Ticketmaster just isn't reliable for something of our scale. We're going to go somewhere else."
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
that's really what they deserve to have happen right now. And I'm not, yeah, just what a mess. And yeah, it could have totally been on a Web3 infrastructure, and it would have had some other different interesting things. And again, could have been those things could have been mitigated by better planning. But
Hmm.
it does kind of actually remind me a bit of like a lot of NFT projects when they like overfill their whitelist. Like you've been whitelisted, but we have a 200% capacity on our whitelist, so you better still show up first and early because just being on the
Plain
whitelist is
selling
not a
more seats than they
guarantee.
have. Yeah.
Because obviously that's what happened here too. Like they had the opportunity to cap this at some level, and they still would have sold out, right? Like that's I think the
Yeah.
other thing. Like they still would have sold out every single venue, but they over allocated their whitelist. So it's number four. Like how many
Yeah.
different things did they have to do wrong here? That's like wow, this is really. Anyways, but yeah, so it could have been Web3. It could have been, and that would have just immediately infrastructurally been better for them, even if they had done nothing else right or nothing
Yeah.
else different, and it would have been interesting. But I do think that for ticketing platforms, I think the main thing, and this still would be one of those Web 1, or sorry, Web 2 to Web 3 gateway problem where you have to have some sort of in traditional infrastructure to be able to handle the conversion from cash to crypto. Because like even if you handled through fees through the back end, like the user doesn't have to know that it was done through the blockchain. They would still have to have that Web 2 infrastructure that onboards people into, onboards that cash into whatever network token that they're using. And that's actually one of the things that I think about when I think about the stable, the was it CBDC, the centralized back dollar back coin. A lot of negative vibes and bad press around the idea, because nobody, not nobody, because a lot of the old school players in the crypto space and a lot of the big influencers are either on the libertarian side or some politically against regulatory, against oversight.
Right.
But if you had a CBDC that was commonly used, you could have a bridge that the onboarding people into the crypto space once they've already got a centralized dollar backed coin is so much lighter. It's so much easier, because you could bridge, you just handle the bridge. You don't have to have any Web 2 infrastructure. You could do it wholly as a decentralized application if done, if done well and with the right tools.
It's
But
coded properly. It doesn't get hacked.
I mean, yeah, there's going to be bridges. They're going to be hacked. It's going to be a big thing. But like, banks still get robbed every day.
Yes.
You don't hear about it very much, but it's real interesting. Like the how common bank robberies actually are.
Oh, I hear you. I hear you. So on that onboarding uh, issue, so have you ever heard of POCO, which is like payments? It's a payment enabler for Web3, where you can actually use fiat. Um, we are we got pinged by them, and we have like other SDKs now and stuff. and we're considering adding it to our gaming platform because that's the other thing that's really uh, being a pain, right? Like that, like I definitely know that this whole issue with MetaMask and it's just problematic. It's still, non-custodial, but it does, I believe it does help that you can purchase like in-game assets and all that kind of stuff just using their local.
Now,
Uh,
is that like pocopay.com? I was just trying to look them up.
I believe so. Let me see what the Poco. Let me see what the website is. Yeah, I think it might be.
Um, Sorry, and then when you say the whole thing with MetaMask, are you talking about like how they're going to be accepting, like you can, what is it, PayPal into MetaMask, or there's a new,
Well, yeah, that's a MetaMask. That's okay. It helps, but I don't.
or just the lack of privacy and some of the other things that MetaMask is
no, it's
doing,
just
right?
no, it's just people. It's just too much friction, right? For
Oh,
you
I
to
gotcha.
get
Yeah.
into Web3 with, you have to have your MetaMask wallet, blah blah blah. Like it's just we need something. So this one is supposed to your, again, you can sign up with your with your social media, and it's supposed to be a lot easier. So the website is www.pocoapp.xyz.
I was looking at a different one. This one's registered in Estonia. It's a payment service product, Poco Pay Power Accountant. Anyways, so pocoapp.xyz.
Yeah.
Sorry, was that POKO?
POKO, yeah.
I'm just all kinds of getting this wrong. There we go. All right, I got this. Um, yeah, so that was I guess an interesting thing, just the onboarding the new thing with MetaMask,
Yes,
being
that
able
wasn't
to
it.
bring fiat in because yeah, that I think that's a big that is the friction of going through like who wants to have to go through um signing
Yeah,
up
through this
for
whole
it,
process,
registering with an exchange and do all the other things. I think
right?
that's one of those places where something like and I haven't actually done the process myself. I should totally do it.
Me
But which one
neither.
is it? Zelle or what's the other big one? Venmo. One of those had a quote unquote good crypto integration. But I can't remember what the withdrawal was because I know with PayPal, when you buy Bitcoin with PayPal, it's almost more like an exchange where you don't ever actually get access to, like, you can't just withdraw it, or at least you couldn't at the time. You couldn't just withdraw the crypto that you bought on PayPal to a
Oh,
wallet.
really?
Yeah, like you
Okay.
could buy it and sell it and earn by buying and selling, or buy it as an investment, but like
But you couldn't grab it and move it to a separate wallet.
whereas the whichever one of these Zelle or Venmo that I'm thinking of, you actually could. It took 24 hours or something. It had a bit of a lag time on it, but at least but you could access it. And I think that like especially if you can remove that lag time, um,
Right.
that having a system like Cash App, Zelle, Venmo, to be able to like somebody sends you $10 and you just spend it on something through crypto. I mean, that is a huge enabler, and I think that's
Yeah.
a big thing that'll
Yeah.
drive adoption. So, what's your experience with Poco, or what do you? Sorry, I kind
Well,
of
no, we're just they pinged us as and we're targeting Asia and Latin America to try to onboard Web 2 onto Web 3, right? So those are the biggest growth markets. So and I don't. They pinged us, so I don't actually. I didn't even ask him how they found us, but I'm assuming they're carpet bombing
right,
any gaming platform, and but they're very friendly, useful, and very responsive, and they say they have this payment solution where you can incorporate into your game, and similar I think to what MetaMask is doing with PayPal is a way that so you can onboard with your social media, you can buy you can buy your tokenized in-game assets with the credit card, so you don't have to go through this whole process. same with what you described, so that
Yeah.
you don't have to go through and get the crypto through a centralized exchange or whatever. So I haven't looked at it in more detail. They just, I asked for their, documentation, and I literally just got it earlier this week. And I said, it'll probably have to wait till the new year because there's too much going on right now.
Yeah.
But this is something that we'll be definitely looking into. So I would love to hear your thoughts on it if you get a chance to look at it.
Yeah, I definitely
But
will.
because to me, these are also some of the things that are going to happen in 2023, right? To me, this is part of the UX/tools things that we need to make Web3 more accessible.
Yeah.
And I'm already seeing that happening towards the latter part of this year. Um,
Well, I think
so
that's
better payment tools for sure.
that is a great prediction. I think that is certainly something, and that's going to be great for it should be great for the ecosystem. Can I ask? This is totally off subject, and maybe a future topic. They're building on a future topic, but so you just mentioned that like they reached out, and it's kind of from a carpet bombing perspective. I kind of have like an immediate like report spam reaction to stuff like that. Like how is it that you view those things and ended up actually having a conversation with this team? And maybe that's a strange
Uh,
question, but
yeah, no. So first of all, they pinged me through. So I get pinged mostly through Discord
uh-huh.
and and a little bit through LinkedIn. Discord, for the most part, I ignore. Or if it looks like something, so I've had a couple of people ping me and I say, well, can you send me? So everybody just wants to jump on a call, right? And I'm like, first, I want to look at your documentation.
Okay.
Uh, if they don't send me a documentation, there's no discussion. Or if they, I had somebody send me like this really one, they want to do like a partnership and, gaming, blah, blah, blah. And when you can only send me like a very high level one pager, I'm like, nah, like I need details, right? So, when you can give
Yeah.
me details, we can talk. So these guys ping me through, and I do get a lot of pings through LinkedIn as well, but same thing. Uh, First send me documentation, and and you can tell just by how they talk, right? So I'll check them out through LinkedIn. See if the team is legit, if they have a legit website or whatever, and see if what they show me on the website is something that resonates with me. And then I asked for documentation, and these guys, and he explained, he gave me some of this information. He goes, our SDK is going to be ready in a week. I will send it to you when it's ready.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't even have to ask. He actually sent it to me.
Oh,
And,
nice.
so it's so again, and I could be wrong, and and it's not, but those are sort of the criteria that I use to see whether I will actually spend time looking into something or not. And
Yeah.
there's not a lot that I spend time looking into,
Right. I mean, if
but this is
somebody
one of
like actually goes through to like find my email or my website and like, schedule time with me through like appropriate
channels.
channels, like yeah, I'm like much more, but like there's almost nothing that comes through Discord. And granted, most of it ends up being like NFT or pump group spam,
Yes,
which are
yes.
almost entirely scams anyways, and that stuff is just like immediately no. So I don't know. I guess maybe my experience is more that I'm just not getting the interesting stuff yet. So hopefully I'll have that problem soon.
But I don't think there's a lot of interesting stuff yet either. I mean, actually, I wanted to go back to your very first comment that you said that, you're getting people are contacting you to do Web3 work, but it's all the same thing. So what are you seeing? Like, what is the same boring stuff that people are doing now? Is it just token drops?
No, most of it's NFT projects of some sort. So There's a DAO doing basically a copy of, I don't know if you're familiar with nouns. So basically they're copying the nouns project. So
Mm.
like one NFT or two NFTs a day that are auctioned off basically. So it's this continuing whitelist deal. And it's attached to like some DeFi stuff. So there's some other rewards and whatnot other than just the NFT, of course. But you know, it's more or less just a yeah, it's a copy of something else, and I applaud them for doing something because I think a lot of the DAOs just have decided to do nothing. In fact, there's only a handful. I have a lot of DAOs on like that I follow on my Discord, and there's about two out of the whole list that post updates at least weekly, which is interesting. So yeah, there's that. Um, yeah, most of it, and like minting this, minting that. Um, there's been a couple of wallet things, some people looking to build wallets, and that's just not really what I
Oh,
do.
but that's dangerous. Like to me, like that's so risky, right? Like a wallet is I think you have to be pretty. You have to be pretty technical. Pretty. I mean, I'm not saying
Yeah.
that you're not, but
No, no,
for
yeah.
that to be a project like that needs to be, a group of pretty knowledgeable senior people who have money, right, to invest in this stuff. So hopefully these are big corporations.
Yeah, there's
Or
I can't remember what it's called. It's Rabbit something. But there's a oh boy, the Rabbit wallet is not bringing up anything on oh no, there it is. So there's an open source wallet called that's rabbit.io. I had a team that wanted me to implement that at some point. If I was to do a wallet or like a DIY or yeah, like build a wallet for somebody, I'd probably fork a project like that. Um,
yeah.
you know, but well, even then, I would yeah.
But
That's
so would that
whatever's
just be a
within
wallet?
licensing there.
Yeah, but that would be a wallet just that would be useful within that particular project, I'm guessing, right? So
No,
that
no,
they have their own wallet.
Rabbit
No, not
was.
Rabbit.
Oh,
If they
yeah,
want,
I don't know what they were actually looking at doing with the wallet itself, honestly. Like I didn't get that far into it but I've seen more than one, which is why I bring that up. Is there's been one a month or two ago, and then there was another couple just recently where people were looking for their own wallets, and as far as I know, they were EVM, but they might have been specific for their project, which that's something that I think is would be a good use of open source project would be to have a like semi custodial wallet situation where you so that you can manage things like gamer wallets. Like if they don't have a wallet, you can generate them one, and you can manage certain things without them having to go and set those up until they're ready to do it, and then you can give them the seed phrase or whatever it is. And obviously there's security issues there where you're custodial, but just different ways that I'm thinking about, like this whole process of onboarding, which it sounds like from some of our discussion that we've already had, maybe things that I'm not going to have to worry about by the end of next year. So fingers crossed.
yeah, yeah. No, it's
But I do like the idea of like an integrated wallet solution when it makes sense. Like for a big like a game, I think was a good place where an integrated wallet solution makes sense because
but it exists already. Have you looked at Engine?
like is it well look is it
ENJIN. So they were like the original gaming ecosystem,
oh
even
cool.
before
Oh yeah, I'm familiar
they,
with the. I haven't
yeah,
used it at all,
even
but
even before Axie Infinity came out.
uh-huh.
So we talked to them, I think, in 20, I want to say 2018, when they were just starting up, and we decided not to join their ecosystem because what I didn't like, right? And at the time, like we were always about decentralization, right? And the way that I, was looking at interoperability is that, you know, you should be able to have a standard, like an asset to be a standard, like an ERC 721 standard, that any contract should be able to interact with and pull into your game. And obviously, you're going to have to code. If you want to use a specific ERC 721 that you didn't create in your game, you're going to have to code that into your contracts and into
Right.
your front end, right? So that's how, to me, that's how a decentralized interoperable system would work.
Hmm.
But Engine, and this was like back in 2018 already, they were saying that, so no, they were almost creating like a metaverse type of idea,
Okay.
but they wanted all tokens to be under their one contract, right? So you would have to create your own assets in their own contract,
Right.
which,
Yeah, I'm working with a team right now who has something kind of similar going on.
yeah. So to me, well, that's centralizing the decentralized, right? To me,
Right.
that didn't make sense, and it wasn't
Or
what we wanted to go
yeah. And
with.
then this is where I think, and it's a tricky problem to have, but I think it's something that if a team like, so like the one I was referencing was like Altura, Engine could probably be, you know, do the same thing if they really wanted to, but like, so like Altura, they're kind of leveraging, build on our ecosystem, and then we'll make money through our marketplace. But like if they included things outside of that, and this is where it gets tricky because like I think that the key and the thing that I like about Ultra, and I think the engine probably does a lot of the same stuff, is the SDK, right? Like I can go and I can integrate these things without actually yeah, without a wallet integrated into the website. Like I can just, if they want to drop their address in, then I can send them things. I can look up what sort of assets they have within the Altura ecosystem. And that's where I think it would be like if I could use their SDK for more than just what was within their ecosystem. And it sounds to me a little bit like what you're saying about Engine, then it would be so much more useful. And, it really, I think that, and maybe that's something that I just need to do, build like a little like ERC 721 SDK or something. And maybe I should look that up, see if people have done it, but make it easier for web developers or app developers to interact with these tokens. And I know that like
Yeah,
Alchemy
yeah,
and Infura are trying to do that
yes,
also, but um,
but it's not easy. Yeah, and not
no,
all
yeah.
NFTs are implemented the same, right?
Mm-mm.
And that's really
Oh my
the
gosh.
issue.
Because I've been working for almost a year now on this like big NFT marketplace, and one
A
of the
nightmare.
one of the biggest things has just been the like lately we've been dealing with stuff where it's like just the like the image or whatever content that
Yeah,
they're serving and how different each one, like so you might have something that's like, most of them are probably URLs leading to some IPFS, but then there's other ones that have like base 64 encoded images that are right in the metadata, or they've got like
yeah,
SVGs embedded, or they've got like
yeah,
HTML implementation that works one way, or they've got yeah, like
yeah. Oh
everything
yeah,
is
it's a nightmare.
so
It's
different.
Yeah, even just like so we have like a little fun app in our game, right? Because again, how we're trying to do interoperability is like we if we work with a specific project, they are able to create a marble with their NFT, right? So we call it MIB Factory, right? So for example, we have a partnership with Unstoppable Domains. So technically speaking, anybody who has a Unstoppable Domain NFT can log on to our MIB Factory app. Uh, the front end will pull up all the Unstoppable Domains and NFTs that you own. It'll pick up the art, and you can create a marble with it, right? And you can like
Uh-huh.
spin it around and give it a little,
Nice.
you know, So it's just a fun aspect, of a game
Right.
of the game. You think it would be easy. So you know, when we first started this, it was like, well, we could bring in any, well, like the beauty of the blockchain, right? You don't need permission, right? I
Right.
should be able to grab any cool project and offer this as an incentive for people from that project to come onto our platform. Look, you can use your NFTs, create a marble, and play all these other games with your NFTs, right? Uh, but most, and we require only, there's got to be a couple of calls, and I can't remember what the calls are. But most of the projects don't even have those two calls in their contracts.
Right.
So we can't even interact with them, or like if you're using a proxy or something like that. So it doesn't work. Half of, like, we found out that with half of the projects, we can't even find their NFTs because the way they've implemented their ERC 721s is not standard, right?
Right.
And then the ones that we do, even with unstoppable domains, where they gave us, we had the contract and we worked with them or whatever, they have that same problem. They had offered some of their users, I guess, this cooler, or the ability to
Oh,
upload
of course.
their NFT image, and guess how they did it? It was an encrypted, SVG, that it wasn't kept in the same place as the original. So it still has the original link,
Hmm.
but they use some internal, pointer to point to the actual location of the image. Well, but it's not on the blockchain. Like, we don't have access to that.
Right.
So unless you use some of
Oh
their
man.
internal APIs,
Yeah, and
you
like
can't access the image,
that
right?
was
Which is a
an
pain.
that was another huge thing. Sorry, I feel like my volume keeps
Yeah.
spiking here. But a lot of people have their images hosted on Cloudflare, and then they've got like like they've got anti-hot
They're not
linking,
public.
or they've got it set up in a way that like we can't. And the funny thing
Yeah.
is, we're trying to, and I know some of the reasons they do it, of course, but like we're trying to like cache the image so that we're not having to call their
Yeah.
service, because we don't want to have to rely on their service, because especially with IPFS, there's it
Oh,
can just be
PFS is a nightmare. That's been the other
incredibly
nightmare.
slow, or it can disappear or whatever, anyways. But like, so we're trying to cache it and do them a favor by saving them some bandwidth, but in the meantime, like, they're completely denying us the ability. And as long as we can hotlink it, at least we can still serve the URL. But
Right.
like, we can't do any of the nice caching stuff, and we can't save them bandwidth. We're having to call it every single time, and it's just, I don't know, it is incredibly frustrating. And yes, even though we've got this nice ERC 721
Yeah.
standard, there's still a lot of things that are not done standard, and outside of the contract, it's just the complete wild west.
Oh, totally, totally. Yeah. So that's so yeah. So I mean, but Engine was trying to do that with, gaming, to put everybody under one contract, whatever. What I found interesting, like, I lost touch with them, and I wasn't watching what they were doing. But what I find interesting is that they completely dropped their whole gaming aspect, and they flipped into now being a wallet, which I found it interesting.
Yeah.
Um, and I find it even more interesting that not too many people know about them, or they're not
Yeah, when I
widely.
saw their
Yeah,
logo, I was like, "Oh yeah, I remember these guys."
yeah,
But like, yeah, I never really knew anything about them. And
yeah,
um
yeah,
and you see they're showcasing some of the games that people have built with their tools. But yeah, it's not a well-built website, because it really doesn't tell me like what they do. It talks a lot about NFTs, but it doesn't say
yeah,
like why I should care about Engine or what
yeah.
Engine's gonna do for me. At least not in a way that's gonna keep my ADD riddled brain on there long enough to figure it out. I'm sure I could dig through it if I was determined enough. But anyways, yeah, no, it's so maybe there will be some pushes to solving some of these problems, because especially as you mentioned earlier, like, I think the NFTs, as much as the hype train and the $1 million asset uh, ecosystem might be retracting a lot, that I
Yeah.
do think that there's a lot of projects that will be hitting maturity, and that we're going to see a lot of evolution and additional things done with NFTs. That's going to be cool. And so if we are going to see that, hopefully there's more. And if it's an Infura or Alchemy that solves these problems, maybe that's fine. Like they're well equipped to
Yeah.
deal with them. But I would love to see something that was more open source, even if it
Yeah,
wasn't
that's
quite
what I
as
struggle
slick.
with. Right? The centralization of the decentralized. That's what I struggle with, especially with Infura and Alchemy. But there's no other options right now, right? And maybe it's going to take, like, again, like what Vitalik is saying, that initially it's going to have to be somewhat centralized until we get it right, and then it can be split up. I just don't know that once people have a hold on these markets and the money and all that kind of stuff, whether there's going to be the opportunity for a smaller player or smaller players to jump in.
Well, and I
That's what.
worry less about, because I think that's something with blockchain and the decentralization of power and whatnot, that has the potential to allow a little bit more democratization of access, to be able to get into a space. But I do think that particularly the regulatory burdens are going to get to the point where it's definitely gonna, like, back in the day anybody could start a lending business or a bank or whatever, and like, do you want to do that now? Does anybody want to do that now? No. Like,
No.
it's so hard
Yeah.
to actually do. um
Hmm.
Anyhow,
Yeah.
I have a meeting, and
Yeah. So do I actually.
I'm actually
So
being pinged here. Somebody's already concerned that I'm not there.
where
So,
are you? Yes.
but
Oh,
thank you so
cool.
much for the conversation. I
Thank
think this was
you. We'll
a great
continue next
one,
week.
and I yeah, look forward to having our other co-hosts back, and hearing what they think.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll chat next week and enjoy your meeting, and we'll
All
talk
right.
later.